Morning for 10 minutes of morning calm. And today what we're going to be talking about is the difference between loving and caring. And I think there really is a significant difference there. And the language, while nuanced and the kind of thing we have to be careful not to play sort of semantics with it, but to really see it as a tool to really understanding how to be more loving in our lives. And it's kind of interesting, right? Because we think of loving and caring as being synonymous. Like, we love the people we love, we really care about. And obviously that's true. And I want to go with a slightly different definition of caring. I think for a lot of people, friends, that they conflate that if they really love somebody, they're going to care about every single thing that they think, say, do. Especially in romantic relationships. Like, it gets very easy to get caught up in where we just are caring so much about everything the other person does, is that we kind of can lose track of ourselves in all that. And we can put it underneath the umbrella of loving, that this is what loving people do, is they really care about absolutely everything the other person wants, loves, etc., etc. And we do want to be aware of that, right? Like, who doesn't want to be aware of what restaurant their partner loves, what things their partner loves to do, etc., etc. And yet, if we're really going to develop, and this is a bit of a paradox, if we're really going to develop this beautiful thing called unconditional love, what we have to do is we have to be able at a certain level to let go of other people's reactions. And that's easy to do in some circumstances with the people we love. Sometimes that's really hard to do. And that's not advocating being callous to other people. It's just saying, if we're going to really be unconditionally loving, which is clearly what God calls us to do, and we're clearly going to have goodwill, which is clearly what God tells us to do, is we're going to have times where we disagree or we see something differently, and we're going to have to, in a sense, not care about someone else's reaction, and just because we know that this is the right thing to do. And it's interesting, right? Because you can be, and this is where it gets kind of like crazy, right? Because we can say, well, somebody could say like, well, you don't care about my reaction, obviously you don't love me. No, we can say, look, I love you dearly. And, this choice is yours. I don't agree with it. I may not see it the same way. And obviously we're not going to say, and I don't care about your reaction, but in the back of our mind going like, yeah, I have to think about not caring too much about how they react. Take note of it, but don't care too much about how they react. And friends, like, I think those of us who parent, we run across that all the time, where we want our kids to know that, look, the love is unconditional. We will love you no matter what. And that there will be consequences for bad decisions. And with those consequences for bad decisions, that we can't overly care about how our charges react to that. We have to actually have a little bit of distance from it. And the reason why is that, like, there's this beautiful sort of dynamic to life and beautiful dynamic to God's providence, is that life will sort out so many of life's problems, that any sort of bad habit we have, like, eventually, I think most of the time, sort of it comes to the surface. But that may take years, if not decades, till we finally can face it. And we have to allow the space for those we love and those we're caring for, just to kind of like have to face that stuff themselves, because that's what's really important. I think a lot of the time, a temptation is to always be the rescuer. And I can remember in my professional life, feeling like, the job was to intervene way up here. Like, you could see the bottom of the pit down here and you wanted to intervene way up here. Not a bad motivation at all. But it didn't work that often, because I think that there's a deeper part to it, that is where we allow the person to make the decisions they make, and then they'll make some decisions that will be hurtful to them and challenging, and then they get to a point where that no longer works, and when their decisions no longer work, that's where we can step in with comfort, with compassion, with a helping hand to walk them forward in life. Now that clearly is not about us kind of here's where we got to be so careful. It's not about sort of a gross detachment. Like, I don't care what you say. It's always got to come from love. And if we're really coming from a loving place, I think we can detach and allow the other person's life to kind of be what it is, and we're there, and we're like a lighthouse. We're not running around a beach, because running around a beach never saved anyone. We're just kind of being who we are. So today, and again, it's a paradox. I'm hoping I explained it all right. That loving and caring oftentimes are not the same thing. And as Richard Rohr beautifully said, he said, yeah, our job as if we're going to live a spiritual life is to find both this beautiful way to care and to not care. Like, we care about the other person's reaction, but in a sense we don't care, because we're not going to allow the tail to wag the dog. There are just times where we just have to be ourselves, and it doesn't mean beating someone up. It doesn't mean we have to be right. It doesn't mean they have to ever agree with us. It just means we're not going to get consumed by their reaction to things. So I hope that makes sense, friends, and I hope that gives you just a little bit of breath, going into the week ahead, especially if you have some strained things ahead of you. I hope that just gives you a sense of just, oh yeah, God said, always be loving, always bring goodwill, and detach from their reactions. Care, but at the same time, don't. So there you go, friends. I hope that makes sense. What we're going to do now is we're going to come in for our soft landing here at 10 Minutes of Morning Calm. And with the soft landing and 10 Minutes of Morning Calm, what we do is we just breathe through it, and we'll listen to the prayer bell, and then we'll do a little meditation, we'll do a little prayer, we'll do a little blessing, and then we'll say hi to folks on Facebook. So with that, dear friends, let's get a little breath. And the prayer bell. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's give a little hello to folks who might be joining us on Facebook. All righty. Let's click on this and then click on this. All right. See if it pops on up here. Come on, Nelly. All right. Doesn't seem to be popping up for me. Give it one more try here, friends. And then we'll just go to... Oh, it didn't go through. All right. So stuff did not seem to go through. Oh, there it is. All right. Little. Nope. Sorry. Didn't go through on Facebook, my friends. All right. Well, listen. Take care. God bless. Have a wonderful day. You can